like I mentioned, there's a lot of content that are purely pro-life, and then there's a lot of podcasts that I love that are purely fertility awareness or fertility and intimacy. But there isn't this gap of let's talk about it all and let's normalize having candid conversations as pro-life people. So I guess I'm the girl to do it.
I love that. Welcome to Those Are the Girls with Melanie and Friends, the podcast where we explore life, career, relationships, and pop culture through a Christian conservative perspective. Each episode, we dive into deep topics that matter most to us women, from navigating your career with grace and confidence to watering meaningful relationships grounded in faith. We're here to empower you to embrace your femininity and stand firm in your beliefs. We'll also tackle the latest in pop culture, discussing how they align or clash with our values. Let's uncover the truth and encourage each other to live boldly and authentically. So whether you're at home or on your commute, get ready for some fabulous conversations. Grab your teacup, pour yourself some tea. Come on, girlies, we're changing culture. The views expressed on this podcast are our own and do not reflect our employers. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. You are listening to Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends. I'm Mallory.
I'm Melanie.
We are changing culture and bringing back traditional
values.
Welcome to the show. Welcome back, Melanie. It's been a minute having you back.
Thanks for having me, Mallory.
When was the last time you were on, actually? Have you been on since the baby?
I have no idea last time I was on it. I can't remember if I was still pregnant. I don't think I've been on since JT was born.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Now. He's 10 months today, actually, now that
Oh.
Yeah, he has 2 teeth now. He's a crawler. He can stand if he's leaning on something, so he'll be walking very, very soon.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He's going to be walking next time I visit, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
Wow, that's pretty exciting. You excited about how fast he's growing?
Yeah, it's crazy. I try to cherish every speck. Like from the movie, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Yes.
We need to cherish the specks.
Yes.
So
I finally saw it.
I didn't tell you I watched it.
No, which is crazy because that's like the best movie on earth.
Mallory, I cried. You were so right. That movie had me emotional.
Quick spoilers, everyone. I recommend you see it. But like spoilers. That's the name of the movie review podcast. Okay, if you're not, so spoilers. Okay. It is literally the greatest movie ever. At the end, it's like, especially if you like are super close with your mom or if you have a complicated relationship with your mom, it just like, oh my gosh. And then when, I'm about to cry thinking about it. And then when he's, when they're in the reality where she's the movie star and he is, the thing, and he goes, in another world, I would just want to fold laundry with you or something like that.
I cried.
Yeah, I was like sobbing. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I want to cry too, just thinking about it.
I know. And okay, did the guy kind of remind you a little bit of Jerry in a positive way?
Yes.
That's another reason why I wanted you to see it. Like in a positive way. Like it was, yeah, same type of
and
vibe.
they both happen to be Asian, but
yeah.
No other reason.
Yeah. And it was funny. It was like funny moments. It was like, it's an emotional roller coaster in just all the right ways. It's
I also don't get the wiener finger world. Yeah. That weird.
Wasn't, yeah.
We don't have to talk about that.
I blocked that out.
We don't talk about Bruno.
Yeah. No. But everything else was like just so good. The music was good too. I like the score. Not to be like, one of those people, but I like the music in it too.
Yeah, I really like the overall theme and lesson of there could be different timelines of your life, given different decisions, and to appreciate the beautiful specks moments of the one that you're in now. Yeah. So I try to cherish those specks with my son.
Beautiful. Well, that's good to hear. Well, a lot has also happened. And we really should get into it because we have a limited time. One of the amazing things that happened is Melanie has her own podcast, Open to Life, as a part of the Other Girls Media Network. So really quick, what that is For those that do not know, Those Are the Girls. And one thing that I've wanted to do is to kind of create a home for podcasts for girls that are Christian and lean more conservative, right of center, a network of just really good premium quality content. And one of our first podcasts that we have on this network is Open to Life. That's also where you're going to find Oops Spoilers. And then in the future, there will be many, many more. But it's just like Other Girls Media is a one-stop shop for good, clean entertainment and educational entertainment for Christian conservative other girls. Yeah, so Open to Life launched February 14th, which is so beautiful on Valentine's Day. So yeah, Melanie, can you talk to us a little bit about why you want to start Open to Life?
Yes. So I had been wanting to start a podcast for a while. I feel for a couple of years. I had it on my heart to want to make an intersectional space to talk about the pro-life perspective with fertility awareness and have this overlap. Because from what I've seen in my experience, I feel like there's a lot of pro-life spaces talking about pro-life news, pro-life movement, pro-life apologetics. And then there's spaces talking about fertility awareness, cycle syncing, hormones, et cetera, et cetera. But I didn't really see a space overlapping the two. These are kind of like two separate worlds. And I wanted to make a space to combine these worlds. And so that's what inspired me to create this podcast. And I'm really appreciative to you, Mallory, for your patience with me over the years, because it was just like one major life event after another, like getting engaged, getting married, moving, becoming pregnant, moving again, having the child and all the things. But life finally feels at a place where I'm like, okay, no excuses. So I said 2025 is the year I'm going to do it. And then I did it. And I think I have 6 episodes out now. And I have 2 episodes on the queue, ready to go, ready to be released. And so far, I've talked about how I learned fertility awareness methods or natural family planning, how you can learn too. I've talked about my experience learning that I was pregnant when I wasn't expecting to be, navigating my pregnancy. An upcoming episode will be my birth story and navigating the breastfeeding, just like personal experiences from me. I hope as time goes on to have guest speakers, more so experts in their different fields who maybe can talk about herbs that can help with hormones or pelvic floor therapy. What are the different types of natural family planning, fertility awareness methods, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot I hope to do and a lot of conversations I hope to have. And that's a little bit about the Open to Life podcast.
Awesome. The episodes I've listened to have been fantastic. And I'm not just saying this because she's one of my closest friends, but I have actually learned a lot from Melanie in my fertility, pro-life, whatever you want to call it. I've learned a lot from her. Even though she's younger than me, she has taught me some, like genuinely, she has taught me some really good things. So I highly recommend the podcast. And I think that if you even if you don't really consider yourself like, I don't know about this fertility stuff, I'm pro-life, I don't necessarily natural family planning, I don't want to hear about that. I think you can still learn some really good nuggets in many of her episodes. And they're not just all going to be about that. There's going to be, like you said, a variety of different things. And so, yeah. So a couple more questions to ask you a little bit. When we're coming up with the name, what made you want to decide Open to Life?
Yes, girl. Okay. Okay, let's define our terms here. When I say fertility awareness methods, I'm talking about methods that can be used to track your cycle, to learn the biomarkers, the biological markers, the language of your fertility that tells you when you're fertile, when you're infertile, and ideally you can learn when you're healthy or when something's off, when your body's trying to tell you something. So that's like fertility awareness methods. Some people learn these methods just for health. It doesn't even have to include family planning. And that was my case when I first started learning, is this was when I was just dating my now husband, Jerry. I learned purely for hell. And that's always my pitch to other girly pops. Like, you can start learning now and it will only help you. It won't hurt you to learn your body and to be empowered, to have true body empowerment, body literacy. So that's fertility awareness methods. There's different methods to learn to chart the signs of your body. Natural family planning, what I learned from Ellen Holloway from the Charting Toward Intimacy podcast, is fertility awareness methods with discernment on what God is calling you to. So when you are married, then there comes the question of, okay, God, is it wise right now with the information that we have at hand to make another child, or to postpone, to space out children? Or do we have grave reasons to avoid pregnancy right now? Is someone really ill? Did someone lose their job? Has someone, I don't know, XYZ. And so I came up with the name of Open to Life because natural family planning is not a contraceptive method. Now, definition again. Contraceptive literally means contra, against, septive, from the word conception, concepcion. So a contraceptive is literally against conception. So, and that could be either a physical barrier or a hormonal barrier. So with natural family planning, we are always called to be open to life. Even if you have sex, even if you come together in the marital act, when you know we are definitely infertile right now, like ovulation has passed, I'm in my, what is it, before your period, your luteal phase. Like when you know I'm infertile, it's not a sin to still come together, but you're still open to life. And it's allowing God to be that creator of life. So I thought the phrase open to life, as in natural family planning world, also worked with pro-life world. That as pro-lifers, we should be open to life and we should be creating the culture of life that we want. So I thought it was a good name that overlapped the two worlds. And that's why I chose the name Open to Life.
Love it. That's perfect. And it makes a lot of sense too. And I think you said I can't remember if it was the first or the second episode, you talked about in a culture of life having fertility awareness, things like that being more accessible. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I definitely envision in a world beyond abortion, in a world beyond contraception, fertility awareness would be at the forefront, would be a part of these conversations. Like I would hope our pregnancy resource centers, our pregnancy health clinics would be a major source of teaching girls body literacy so that girls don't just go back on birth control and then find themselves in another unexpected pregnancy, but then giving girls that true empowerment in their bodies to make informed decisions on when they're fertile or when they're infertile, and if they should or should not unite with someone if there's a possibility of becoming pregnant. So that would really give girls like the power. And I hope it would teach girls the beauty of their bodies, especially as women, that only we have this power to gestate, create life. And I want to believe if more girls came to know this truth, that somehow there would also be a coming to believe truth on the sacredness of human life in the womb, and coming to know their own dignity as girls of, okay, I don't just want to be sleeping around with anyone, or I don't want to keep sleeping with my deadbeat boyfriend, et cetera, et cetera. So in this vision of a world beyond abortion, I hope that pregnancy centers would be part of this plan of teaching girls this information. I hope that in schools, maybe not teaching fertility awareness-based methods, but teaching proper like anatomy terms, to teach also maybe just the facts of the cycle, and let that become common knowledge as people grow up. Like everyone would grow up knowing the phases of the cycle, and everyone would grow up knowing that there's a reason why girls are tired at one part of the month or creative more in another part of the month. I hope also that it would become normal for parents to be the primary teachers before anyone else, to have conversations with their children about the cycles, boys and girls, especially if boys have sisters, or I mean, just boys growing up with mothers who may be in the restroom with their mom as she's changing her pad. Like, let there be open conversations as time goes on. I really hope that there won't be just one the talk, but that there would be ongoing conversations to normalize fertility, to normalize the female cycle. Like I said, for this to become common knowledge. So in my world beyond abortion, I would hope that there would be some bodily anatomy, cycle awareness taught in schools, that there would be more conversations in the home, and that for pregnancy centers would also be a great resource for girls to actually learn fertility awareness methods and or family planning. And yeah, I really hope in some way that girls would come to learn the truth about the gospel, maybe just kind of like a following line of reasoning, like, oh, well, if I'm so beautifully and wonderfully made, then there must be a creator who made me this way. Like, this stuff doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
So those are some ideas of mine for a world beyond like birth control. And I forgot the statistic, but there's a certain stat that X amount of girls who seek abortions were on at least one type of contraception the month that they became pregnant. So I don't believe more birth control is the answer to less abortions. I want to believe that more body literacy, teaching girls about the beauty that is their fertility, the power that they have in being able to gestate human life. If we could teach girls this, then I feel like that would be true women's empowerment, like true body literacy. That would be a part of true reproductive justice if we could teach girls what I think should be basic and common knowledge.
That is such a good dream. I think you're right on the money about a lot of things that you said, and I want to comment really quickly on the birth control thing. I believe it was Brooke Urick, who somebody I had on recently, mentioned how when they were on birth control, they felt like they were a lot more promiscuous because they were like, oh, well, I'm on birth control, so let me just have as much as I want. And she now has gotten off of birth control. And I don't think she's a believer, but, continue to pray for her. But she said that, like, she doesn't have those urges anymore. Like, she's not, trying to, she doesn't have as much say. Like, the point is, the statistic that you mentioned, I don't know it. I wish I had Jamie from Joe Rogan to look it up real quick. I don't know the exact number, but I do know that statistic that many, many women who go in to have abortions were on contraception. And the thing is, 99%, I know someone who was the 1%, actually, which is awkward to tell your child, but I know someone who was the 1%. Her mom was on birth control, and I think she said her dad used a condom. So, like, it's not foolproof. Did you find it?
Yeah, I just looked it up. Okay. This is what Google's telling me. About half of U.S. abortion patients report using birth control when they became pregnant, according to Guttmacher.
It's even the pro-abortion side.
I thought it was less than that, but dang.
Yeah.
Like half?
That's
crazy.
Why I'm
like, I don't think more birth control is the answer.
Yeah.
Less abortion.
And I think that's hard for people to, this is one thing, now we're kind of like venturing a little bit off, but I gotta say this is one thing I wish we could figure out. I don't know the answer to this, but like when you actually sit down and think about the statistic and hear what we have to say, I think that makes sense. This is logical what we're saying. But you can't, like a quick snippet of more birth control equals less abortions. It doesn't take too much time to think. That's just like a quick little snippet of you saying that. It doesn't take a lot of like intellectual capital to come to that realization. Okay, if we have birth control, then we're not going to get pregnant, and it's something that's been ingrained in us for so long. I wish there was a way we could get people to like, it's hard to be like, wait, let me tell you, give me three minutes to prove to you. Let me show you the statistic, as opposed to, people kind of prefer that quick. Birth control is the best way to protect people from getting abortions. That's just like a side note. I wish there was a way we could make it like easier, quicker to get people to come to our conclusion.
Yeah. And I also hope as time goes on, like if I could wave a magic wand, that in this like vision of this world, that there would also be just like basic fetal development taught in schools.
Like, oh wait, Melanie, sorry, really quick. Hold that thought, because before you move on to that, I want to say one other thing about what you said, and I don't want to like drift too far before we about the fetal development. Something else you said about dignity, I want to like harp in on that for 2 seconds. I bring it up probably once a quarter. This wonderful woman, Mary Kate, was on the podcast 1,500 million years ago. And she talked about the dignity of woman and our bodies and like how our sexual organs are on the inside and how men's are on the outside and how we have to literally welcome someone into us, and just thinking about that from like that perspective. And like for me, that changed like a lot about like it really like that really affected me. And I think that these type of conversations, and I'm sure maybe you can have Mary Kate on the show. I want to have her back on this show. I like legitimately, it's a really good episode. If I remember, I'll link it here so you guys can hear it. But these type of things, like in this world where we're talking about fertility awareness, where we're talking about our bodies, where we're talking about like not using birth control, when we're talking about contraception in general, these are the things that I think are really important. And I think they can really change someone's mindset. Because I think if you truly grasp that, you would at least be pickier with who you allow to be inside of you. Because that's essentially what the person is doing, is they're inside of you. So I think if once we grasp that concept too, I'm like shaking the computer. Once we grasp that concept, I think that it will really change a lot of hearts and minds of women. And I think we can get our culture back in the sense of like becoming less sexualized. And I do think we are actually going in that direction of becoming less sexualized. I feel like I'm seeing a lot more people like kind of be annoyed with a bunch of the movies and sexualization of girls and things like that. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So I just got another good stat. So there is an educational program that teaches adolescents about fertility awareness called Teen Star to help them make responsible decisions about their sexuality. And the program has been shown to reduce the risk of pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections in teens. And the one study showed that about 40 to 50% of previously sexually active females and 30 to 50% of previously sexually active males stopped having sex after participating in the Teen Star program after learning about fertility awareness.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and I'm not even
in churches at the very least.
Like, I'm not even trying to like be the uncool like person that's telling people like stop having sex. Like, I want people to use logic and come to this conclusion of, now that you know the beauty and the power that you have in your body and how precious the gift of life is, that life begins at fertilization, maybe it would be best to share this gift with someone who loves you, with someone who's committed to you, someone who would commit to raising children with you. And ideally, that sounds like maybe someone who would marry you. Like if we could just follow this train of thought, that people would come to this conclusion, like, oh yeah, like that makes sense.
And once again, that takes time. I hate that so much. Like, people have to learn to get our points across. I just feel like it takes so much time. I just think about like some of the other, concepts that they have that are just kind of very simple, but we'll figure it out.
The Teen Star program, or what are you referring to?
No, I'm just like what you said, like jumping from one thought to the other.
Oh, like that line of thought.
That line of thought. It takes time for you to get, if someone's not already thinking like that, you have to like take the time to like explain that to them. Whereas I feel like the other side can just say love. And then everybody's like, yeah, ooh, love. Or pleasure, and it just, yeah. But no, the Teen Star program, that sounds good. I think we need stuff like that, at the very least in churches. I mean, that's also kind of like a hit or a miss. I don't necessarily know if you want your church talking to your kid. Well, but you're not necessarily talking about sex. You're just
That's
talking
why
about
I think like
fertility.
parents should be the first teachers.
No, I agree with that for sure.
But that like if parents consent, that in schools where a lot of parents send their children, if you choose not to homeschool, that schools should also have an opt-in or an opt-out segment, days of learning about, today we're going to talk about, the female cycle, proper like body anatomy terms. I really wish that would happen, because I know for me, I feel like I didn't learn the word vagina until high school. And then it wasn't until probably my early teens when I actually learned like the body parts that are actually on the outside of the female are not the vagina. Like the vagina is what is inside us. The outside is the vulva. And then there's the labia minora, the labia majora. Like I didn't know these words. There's the clitoris. Like, I just, like, growing up in school, I guess everyone just clumped it as vagina. And I feel like if we could teach people, no, actually, not everything is the vagina down there, that would be part of true empowerment. And yeah, I just think the abortion industry is doing women a disservice by pushing and encouraging birth control, which doesn't actually tell women what's going on in their bodies and when you are fertile or not infertile. It's a crisis, an epidemic, I would say, and it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like I would want my audience, like, I hope one day eventually to become a fertility instructor and a hormone coach to help girls with balancing their hormones, to have like a two-pronged approach to helping girls have the knowledge of when you're fertile, when you're infertile. And if we see something in their charts that show, okay, your body's definitely trying to tell you something here, like something's off. Let's see. It seems like maybe you're deficient in progesterone, or, oh, it seems like maybe you're deficient in estrogen or something, that I can also have that other prong to have help with balancing the hormones with natural methods. And I really would love to service girls who I could encounter on the sidewalk. I think it would be great to be like, hey, I can actually help you, like, get off of birth control and stay off of birth control. And I can help you with family planning if we get to that point. So that would be a dream of helping actually abortion-minded women or previously abortion-minded women. And then also to help pro-life girls. I imagine my podcast right now is reaching people who probably agree with me already. And so it'd be great. It would be great to, like I said, create this overlap of these worlds to get more pro-life activists learning and talking about fertility awareness, so that when we encounter women, we know some more resources to refer girls to. We have some more language to talk about these things. We have some more knowledge in our tool belt about women's fertility.
Love that. And I'm sorry for cutting you off about the fertility, the fetal development, and we only have a little bit of time. So I'm sorry. I had to say the thing about the dignity. Can you talk to me about the fetal development, and then we'll wrap it up?
No. So that's just part of my vision for a world beyond abortion, is that we would also grow up learning about fetal development in school, and learning what would it, maybe not so much in school, but I don't know, just where it's just so common knowledge, where like the default is to be pro-life because we all learn the science of the women's cycles, when life begins, fetal development, like just it's just this like continuation of knowledge. And then it would be crazy to be pro-abortion, and then you would be the weird one, and you would get bullied if you were pro-abortion in school. You would be the one to lose friends. You would be the one to lose your job.
Yes.
Well, and I also want to talk about sex in my podcast. Jerry and I, my husband, made a podcast about wedding night wisdom. Like, what would be the advice we would give to friends if they came to us like, okay, y'all, like, we've never had sex before, we've saved sex for marriage, and we're really excited, but we also have no idea what to expect. Give us your best advice. So we made that episode, and I would say that's probably my favorite to this point. But so that's something else I want to be talking about on the podcast, is the beauty, the sacredness that is sex, because it is a reunification of the marital vows. And every time, I forgot which saint said it, maybe Saint Thomas Aquinas or Archbishop Fulton Sheen, that every time a couple comes together, reunites in the state of grace, that they radiate grace throughout the whole world. And the saints had sex, y'all. The saints had sex. Sex is holy. Sex can sanctify us. It is a part of our way of the cross, our way to heaven. Yeah.
It's a form of worship.
It's a form of worship. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's definitely another thing I'll be talking about, because, I mean, how do you make babies? Sex.
Yeah.
What does our fertility involve if you're trying to postpone or achieve pregnancy? Sex. So I definitely want to have those conversations candidly, and from this pro-life anti-contraception, pro-fertility awareness lens, which you may not be getting from other podcasts. I think other podcasts that I really enjoy, like I mentioned, there's a lot of content that are purely pro-life. And then there's a lot of podcasts that I love that are purely fertility awareness or fertility and intimacy. But there isn't this gap of let's talk about it all and let's normalize having candid conversations as pro-life people. So I guess I'm the girl to do it.
I love that. And that's
I
a
love
huge
that
thing
for you.
Well, no, that's a huge thing for me though. If no one else is doing it, why not you? I mean, that's how Those Are the Girls started. That's how Open to Life started. That's how so many other things started. No one else was doing it. So why not you? I also want to say something else and we'll wrap it up. So we only have 3 minutes left. I want to say something else. I think part of the reason why your podcast, I think, is going to be so important in the future is going to be something that Other Girls Media is going to be very appreciative of, and it's going to help girls is the way we can get these conversations started, the way we can wave the magic wand to do it is if you do it. It is like, well, you specifically, but like you also as you, the listener. I said it, I was like, you're going to reach people, that will be able to reach out to their friends and have these conversations. I'm thinking back of a conversation I actually had recently at a book club. One of my friends mentioned, someone who I'm a new friend to, mentioned how she was on birth control and she had not had a period in 6 years. And it took everything into me not to be like, but I just mentioned, our fertility. I said, I'm not gonna preach at you, but just remember, like, your fertility is really important and we really don't know what's in birth control. And then I just left it at that. But, if she brings it up again, I'll add another statistic. Like, that's how we can make these conversations normal. That's how we can, like, change people's minds. That's how we can just be able to get to that world that we all desire, where it is kind of like, you're pro-abortion. Weird. Like, that's how we can get there, is if we are doing our part. We're talking about it. We're having a conversation with our friends. We're sharing the episodes, and it's uncomfortable. Like I said, like, it took everything in me not to, like, no, because of blah, 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 but okay, I'm not gonna beat you over the head about it, but here's, birth control, like, it does affect your fertility, and, like, just saying things like that. And then occasionally ideally, hopefully she'll reach out to me and be like, what were you saying about that? And I can send her a podcast or send her an article, something like that. So that's really how we can get to this utopia world. It's like you, Melanie, specifically, as well as the listener, we're talking about it. We're having these open and candid conversations.
Yeah. Talking about sex, birth control, fertility, these are delicate topics. It's one of those under the belt things that it can be hard to bring up with loved ones. You don't really meet someone and start talking about sex and birth control. I mean, maybe you do, but
yeah,
I would hope that in time, the Holy Spirit can open up those opportunities for you. That's something I pray about sometimes, is like, God, like, I know that this person is on birth control. Like, please, like, give me the courage to bring it up, like, give or make the moment happen where we can talk about these things, and just be wise. Ask for the Holy Spirit to help you out when you are talking with people. Because some people can take it really personally, but hopefully they know that you have their best intentions at heart.
And really quick, last thing about that, definitely use discernment. Like, ask the Holy Spirit to tell you when to have these conversations. I guess you could say she's like a mentor to me, this woman that I know through, like, politics things that I've done. She always said, like, the Bible says somewhere in Proverbs, it talks about how, like, arguing with fools is just unwise, or something along those lines. I can't remember the exact verse, but, like, if someone is literally blah, blah, blah to what you're saying, you're wasting your time, and they're not going to change their mind right then. The goal, if you love your friend, now, this is between talking to someone online and talking to your friend. If you love your friend, the goal is to change her heart and her mind. And the way you do that is you can do that over time. You can do that. Also, educate yourself. This is why it's also good to be educated on the topic. So when it does come up, you'll be able to say something, give a statistic, or at least, like, make a educated comment, instead of, like, birth control equals bad, be able to say a little bit more about that. But yeah, Melanie, anything else you want to add before you have to go?
Well, I will say, yes, if you can't tell, I am coming from the Catholic worldview when I'm speaking about these topics. But I would hope, even if you are just a Christian, not a Catholic Christian, that we can still agree that if Jesus is the Lord of our lives, if he's the Lord of our music, the content that we consume, if he's the Lord over the car we drive, the jobs we choose, what doors do we walk through or not, etc., I hope that just as Christians who may not agree with Catholic theology on this topic, that we can find common ground that if Jesus is the Lord of your life, of your everything, that Jesus should also be the Lord of your fertility. And that involves being open to life and not playing God with birth control. Now, that was a hot take. I know that may hurt your feelings.
I'm gonna clip it. That was good.
I'm not trying to hurt you. If you're feeling a little something, maybe that's the Holy Spirit, but with the shit.
And y'all know I'm Protestant. I don't know. So I'm even taking, like I said, Melanie's taught me a lot, even though we are not in the same branch of Christianity. She's taught me a lot, specifically on this topic. Things that, we don't talk about this in Protestant circles. I can tell you that for sure. So I think that you made a very good point. I'll just leave it at that. And I will be clipping that part. Okay. Anything else?
Well, hope to see you all over on the Open to Life podcast. Episodes should come out bi-weekly on Fridays. So the next episode should come out Friday, March 14th.
Oh, so March 14th, just say that. I don't know when this episode's going to come out. Hopefully sooner rather than later. And then how can they connect with you?
So you can listen to the Open to Life podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And I'm on Instagram as Open to Life Podcast. I'm also Melanie Salazara on social media.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Melanie, for coming on. And you guys, please make sure you check out Open to Life and all of the other Girls Media podcasts. And I hope you have a good day, night, evening, wherever you're listening.